Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you on this quarantine Saturday morning. Uh, we're all making it. We are. So thanks for coming on this morning. Today we're going to be focused pretty much on some pretty big questions that came in last week. And so we're going to tailor the presentation around that and hit a lot of the highlights instead of our normal presentation. So it is going to be a little bit different, and it is really customized for all of you that have sent in your questions or contacted us. So thank you for that. Dr. Chris, how would you like to get started here?
Well, let's start with the big one here first, as far as, why TeloYouth for this time and place with the viral pandemic. And we'll explain that throughout, but just to start out with the viral pandemic, fear is such a big issue that's happening because it's in the news constantly. I mean, we see it now. We're quarantined. If we do go somewhere that's open, they've got barriers in place. So all of this is just playing on our psyche, playing on our minds. And we've always been taught, one of the first things in naturopathy they teach you, the mind is the most powerful pharmacist. So this is why you hear Dr. Tina and I talk so much about just understand the technology, see how it's helping you, and help you relieve the fear and understanding that viruses have been around longer than we have, and we evolved with them. So our body knows how to deal with them. So why don't we go to the first slide here and just show what is happening. The virus, as you know, is creating a lot of news, but the way it infects the body is it goes through the breathing system, the trachea, the lungs, and it also comes through the intestinal tract, the small intestines. And that's because this particular virus has a receptor site, or accesses the receptor sites that are very specific to the lining of the lungs and the lining of the small intestines. So this is just help us understand. And our approach is not to just separate and distance ourselves, because that's the conventional wisdom right now until they develop a vaccine. But ours is more integrative. We both work on the outside, with good common sense, but also from the inside. And these are the strategies that we're going to share with you that make such a huge difference, because when you do both, you just empower yourself, you take charge of the situation, and again, you help relieve that whole fear factor. So, it's kind of like a perfect storm is what we've evolved here with. And, we've got the aging population, there's overcrowding, and greater scale and presence of non-native electromagnetic fields, a poor diet, lifestyle habits. So we have to take a lot of responsibilities for what we've created as a culture, as a our own species, what we've done to ourselves. So it's not like our bodies haven't been designed to handle viruses. That's what they do. I mean, the viruses have, like I said, been around, and there's so many different kinds, and there's the good viruses and the bad viruses, and this is one of the ones that it's new, and we're learning to adapt to it. And let's talk about how our ingredients work. So on the next slide, you're going to see two very powerful ingredients that are in the TeloYouth, and the aloe vera gel extract and the chaga mushroom, and they're specifically chosen for their ability to boost the immunity, boost our immune system. And our immune system, one of the things that's so important about the immune system, it's like it's the system, it's the internal system that regulates everything. It just oversees how the body works, and it regulates and coordinates all the other systems. So it's like your operating system. that you would talk about in your computer. So our operating system is our immune system, and we're going to show you the different ways that it interfaces with, by taking TeloYouth, how we support it and how it interfaces with the body. And one of the key ways that it's a defender. It goes after foreign substances. And we've got a great little video here that we're going to just show you, a quick one that shows the immune system activating itself and attacking a bacteria, and whether it's any kind of microbe, a virus, bacteria, fungal, form, then these are foreign substances that the immune system goes after. So, Dr. Tina, can we cue up the video just to kind of show the immune system doing its thing?
Neutrophils are white blood cells that hunt and kill bacteria. In this spread, a neutrophil is seen in the midst of red blood cells. A Staphylococcus aureus bacterium has been added. The bacterium releases a chemoattractant that is sensed by the neutrophil. The neutrophil becomes polarized and starts chasing the bacterium. The bacterium, bounced around by thermal energy, moves in a random path, seeming to avoid its predator. Eventually, the neutrophil catches up with the bacterium and engulfs it by phagocytosis.
Great sound effects there.
Neutrophils are white blood.
Oops, sorry about that.
Okay. So the other part of our formula that works from inside and outside is that we deal with stress mediation, because one of the things that stress does, it releases powerful chemicals, and those specific chemicals, like cortisol, they suppress our immunity. So here you're seeing, multiple ways that we support our immune system by, number one, activating it with the aloe vera and the chaga, but at the same time reducing our, let's say, response to stress, and reducing the chemicals that are released by the body that come from that response, because those chemicals are the ones that suppress our immunity. And this is a time we want our immune system to be at its highest. So you have the fertilized tissue extract, the FTE. We have clinical studies, so you can just share confidently with other individuals that this formula is a stress mediator. Dr. Tina and I have been working with this one particular ingredient for well over 10 years, and we love it. I mean, when you go on stage and you're doing presentations or you're dealing with stressful situations, we always have our TeloYouth, and it's one of the first things we do to just kind of help us stay, chill, stay calm and cool. The rhodiola rosea is specifically a super relaxer for the central nervous system, and again, another powerful communication system. So you have the immune system as your operating system, but then you have the nervous system as the instructor, the communicator that goes throughout the body, and you have this balance that's created. So you have the immune system gets turned on when needed, but at the same time, there has to be a break. There has to be a way to slow it down or calm it down, because when it's constantly turned on, it's aggressive, and it's just like we showed in the video, it goes after and attacks things. And once the foreign invader is handled, then the system has to learn to turn off. And we have a lot of health conditions today. They're chronic degenerative diseases that deal with an overactive immune system. So again, you're taking TeloYouth, and it's helping you to modulate and to be able to balance that. So there's communication highway that goes on. And so we've got another video that I really like. It's an animation, it's not a live thing, but it helps us understand how the ingredients in TeloYouth build the communication network on the surface of the cell. The surface of the cell is the brain. And the information highway of all the signaling and communication that goes on with all the different systems, it has to be received and appropriately accepted in order for the cell to stay healthy, to know what to do and how to communicate with the rest of the body. So why don't we just turn on this video and then let everyone just get an example of communication and signaling and protection.
Inside cells, these sugars combine with protein strands and form complex structures called glycoforms. The exterior of a healthy cell is covered with a dense forest of these glycoforms. Glycoforms can exchange infinite combinations of information depending on their shape and charge. Glycoforms are present on the surface of all cells and actually prevent viruses, bacteria, and other enemy cells from entering a healthy cell by blocking the entrance to the cell's surface. Glycoforms can hold on to an enemy cell until an immune system cell can arrive to destroy it. Healthy immune system cells can also accurately identify normal cells and not interfere with their function. Cells covered with glycoforms enable clear and accurate cell-to-cell and system-to-system communication, creating an information superhighway within the body. Glycoforms play a vital role in every human physiological process: immune system response, tissue regeneration, cell replication, growth, and structural stability. They are even responsible for the attraction of sperm cells to an egg cell surface to foster fertilization. Without vital sugars and a variety of other micronutrients, cells cannot create glycoforms. The result is a breakdown in cellular communication and immune system response. Depleted cells are unable to defend themselves effectively, so cell structures can be damaged and are not effective in healing and regenerating. In this weakened state, cells cannot communicate effectively, compromising the body's ability to identify problems. They are also unable to destroy pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, and fungi, and cannot identify mutated cells so the immune system can eliminate them. For example, when a person suffers from an autoimmune disorder, their compromised immune system may respond inappropriately and treat altered normal cells as intruders and destroy them. It may allow mutated cells to proliferate, or the immune system may not respond at all, leaving the body extremely vulnerable to many types of infectious agents.
All right. So there's another example of just how the immune system works. And Dr. Tina, can we go back to slide number 7? That's just to kind of show what stress really does to us in a sense. It drains our energy. We have lower resilience. That's our immunity. That's what we just showed you. We lose the ability to attack those foreign invaders. And we just have less ability to build the glycoforms and maintain those on the cell surface. So with the increased cortisol that comes from stress, one of the first areas you're going to feel it is in sleep. That's one of the first indications of that there's a problem with you systemically, but also it's one of the first areas that we get individuals to respond with our product. They say, wow, after taking TeloYouth, I'm sleeping so much better. And that's no small thing. Dr. Tina, anything you want to add there? Just we hear that so much.
Well, absolutely. So when our cortisols are locked in a cycle, we have such a cortisol-driven society. And so when it's locked, our melatonin is low. And when our melatonin is low, our cortisol it's low. We don't get to sleep at night. So they're antagonistic with each other. And what that means is if our cortisol is locked, or our body is locked in that cortisol cycle, it's very, very, very difficult to stop that and reverse it without having some kind of assistance. And that's what TeloYouth helps with is unlocking that cortisol cycle so that melatonin and cortisol can come back into balance. And then when you get that great sleep, that's when you start rejuvenating. You start to feel the effects of rejuvenation.
All right. So on the next slide, we're going to show you another invader, because all we hear about is the virus. And it's this foreign invader, this invisible invader that we don't even know it's out there unless we've been tested, and or don't know if we've already been exposed to it unless we get an antigen test. And so this is why so much information is coming out there about testing, testing, testing. Well, there's another foreign invader that we don't hear about in the public media and in the news, and that's the electromagnetic interferences that we're getting. And we're talking non-native electromagnetic fields. So if you look at this chart, you're seeing a health spectrum, and the health spectrum is the frequencies of light, of electromagnetic fields that our body has evolved with. You know, it's what it's used to, it's what it uses. This is what creates a healthy body and healthy life from an electrical standpoint. And remember, we've always told you that we're energy beings first, and that energy that we've sustained ourselves and live off of comes from this specific spectrum. But in our modern day society, we've developed technologies that go far outside of the health spectrum. And even more so today, we're seeing with the devices that we keep on our person almost 7/24. You know, we've got the phones right by our beds. We're on the computer all the time now, especially now that we're quarantined. We use these devices for, microwaving our food, and then our technology to examine us from a medical perspective. We're using X-rays and MRIs and CAT scans. So you see our exposure to non-native electromagnetic fields causes a whole new dynamic for the body to deal with. And it's a very powerful stressor. It's an invisible stressor, and it's one that's compounding. It's getting to be more and more every day as we introduce technologies. And very few individuals know about it. And this is something that Dr. Tina and I understood, and we actually put ingredients into the formula. So one of the things with the chaga mushroom is not only does it support the immunity with the beta glucans from the mushroom, but also it has melanin, and melanin is a very unique component that our body makes naturally when it goes out in the sun to protect us from the sun. But also the melanin, when we take it internally from the TeloYouth, we're taking a particular molecule that has the ability to absorb energy, whether it's within the health spectrum or outside of the health spectrum, and convert it into useful energy for our body. So again, here's another multidimensional way that our TeloYouth supports us with very specific ingredients that are designed for today's stressors and today's situations. So in the next slide, this shows you what's happening in the cell itself. This is an example of what the 5G electromagnetic field, whether it's 3G, 4G, 5G, it goes in and it disrupts the cellular metabolism and increases calcium. We call it calcium channel disruption. And it creates inflammation. There's free radicals that are formed, peroxynitrite, something that we know is very damaging to the body. And the other area on the next slide is what very few people understand is it creates an anemia. And the way it creates the anemia, because we know that the red blood cells are necessary for the transferring of oxygen in and the removal of the carbon dioxide from our tissue. Well, the electromagnetic fields, and specifically this virus, destroys the hemoglobin, the particular molecule that our red blood cells have, and actually what makes them red. is the hemoglobin, and that when the hemoglobin is destroyed, we lose the ability to transfer oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out of the cells. And that's why you're seeing such a problem with hypoxia. Hypoxia means a lack of oxygen. So you see specifically the conditions that we're exposed to with this virus and with the electromagnetic fields, and they compound each other. It's like the two together create an added stress that it's multidimensional. And then the third area that's so important is not just this disruption that happens on the cells, but also in a very important part of the body called the microbiome. And Dr. Tina, do you want to share a little bit about how important this microbiome is and the fact that when we're destroying it with this EMFs, it's not a good thing?
Right. Well, and that's because 70% of our immunity is in our gut. We've talked about this quite a bit on all of our other webinars, and there's a constant battlefield inside the gut for the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. And basically what we want to do is we want to support the good bacteria. TeloYouth supports the good bacteria, helps your immune system, and things that destroy your good bacteria and support bad bacteria are going to be the things that are, some of them are very simple for us to eliminate. First of all, we're talking about alcohol, processed foods, sugar foods, medications, excuse me, chemicals, the toxicity that we're dealing with. And one big assault is, antibiotics. Just about everybody's had an antibiotic. If you've had an antibiotic, it wipes out the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. But then you have to rebuild the good bacteria. Things to do: get out in the sun, expose your belly to the sun. The microbiome loves the sunshine. Make sure you're eating clean foods, fermented foods. You can look those up on the internet, see which ones appeal to you. You got to have that good fiber in your foods. And it's interesting how we've gotten away from fiber. So it's just really important to do these lifestyle changes if you're not incorporating them already, to be able to support that good bacteria.
All right. Well, leads right into our lifestyle recommendations. So let's talk a little bit more about all the kinds of things that TeloYouth does, and also how we can support it to even be more effective. And we've got you build your collagen up there. Maybe go to the next slide, because here's 2 ingredients to specifically support the ability to build your collagen. We have the marine collagen, which has all the different types of collagen. You'll go into the health food store and they'll say collagen 1 through 5, and well, our marine collagen has the full broad spectrum of the different collagens. So now you're getting the components to support your body's ability to, make its own and sustain its own collagen. And then we have the super builder L-arginine, which just supports the body in many ways, but not just from circulation, but also helping to produce growth hormone naturally. So the release of growth hormone is, again, a builder, tissue builder for the body. So getting back to the lifestyle recommendations, you can see here's 2 more ingredients that help you build your collagen. And Dr. Tina, before we get into the stem cell regeneration, maybe talk a little bit about the importance, of good sleep, and then the intermittent fasting, and which we refer to as time-restricted eating, what that means.
Yes, we get a lot of questions on what does this mean. First of all, it's really important to understand a couple of things. One is autophagy, and autophagy means self-eating. And it's a good thing. So it's a method where our body cleans out our damaged cells and all of the toxins that we're exposed to. And then it helps us regenerate newer and healthier cells. And over time, our cells accumulate a variety of dead organelles, damaged proteins and particles, and it interferes or it clogs with our body's inner workings. Now, this accelerates our aging process and it creates diseases because our cells aren't able to divide or function normally. So our body has its own mechanism called autophagy. It's a self-cleaning mechanism. And here's how it works. I'm going to give you a metaphor. Think of your body as a kitchen. After you make a meal, you clean up the counter, you throw away your leftovers, you recycle some of the food, and the next day you have a clean kitchen. This means autophagy is doing its thing in your body, and it's doing it well. Now think of the same scenario, but you're older and not as efficient. After making your meal, you leave remnants on the counter. Some of it gets into the garbage, some of it doesn't. Scraps linger on the counter, in the garbage, in the recycling bin. You never make it out the door to the dumpster, and toxic waste starts to build up in your kitchen. And here's what happens. This is what happens inside our body as we age. So we want our body to be able to jumpstart its autophagy, and we do this by intermittent fasting. This is how we increase our autophagy. And the intermittent fasting is where we take a 24-hour period and we only eat during a short window during that period, ideally eating with an 8-hour window, and not eating past 6 or 7 p.m. at night is perfect because it gives your body the ability to self-clean at night, go back into cleaning itself. Now, you can do this 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week is optimal. And then you can eat normally 2 other days, or do more of a fasting on those 2 other days where you eat less food. So it's really going to be geared towards your lifestyle and kind of being able to do what you can do. Now, all of us are at home, or most of us are, so you have the ability to incorporate some of this time restricted / intermittent fasting. The other thing is we have other ways to increase our autophagy, and that is eat a high-fat, low-carb diet, reduce your protein, or eliminate protein just a couple of days a week. Allow your body to not have protein. And then you can exercise. Exercise is fantastic for accelerating your autophagy. And then on here, we're going to talk about good sleep. You need to get that good sleep, 8 hours plus a day, getting out in the sunshine. Dr. Chris, do you want to talk about anything with the stem cell regeneration, or do you want to move forward into these other areas?
Let's talk about stem cells, because the autophagy really is one of the triggers for your stem cells to go into action. So when we designed TeloYouth, we specifically put in ingredients that facilitate your body's own ability to release stem cells and to activate them. And so if you take a look at this slide here, the next slide we have, there we go. So you have, let's say, a damaged cell or an old cell, and it's sending out a signal, and that signal is picked up by the immune system. And the immune system sends out the signals that we refer to as cytokines, and the cytokines tell the body to release more stem cells from where we manufacture our stem cells in our bone marrow. So we release more of the stem cells, and the beauty of this formula is not to just have those stem cells around, but to activate them, because we have the very specific signal proteins that come from the FTE that activate the stem cells. Now, this is a natural process of the formula that when you take it on a daily basis, this is what it's helping it to do, to stimulate the production and the release of stem cells and activate them. But now getting back to autophagy, you can see how a stem cell, what it does is that it's linked into the immune system, and the immune system is cleaning up the body. So when you have this strong immune system, by taking the TeloYouth that exercises your immune system every day, you're going after these senescent cells And these are the cells that have aged and they're no longer function, but they're hanging around the body. They're just like in the way. They're interfering with all this communication. They've lost their glycoforms, and but they haven't been destroyed because our body isn't strong enough to eliminate them, meaning our immune system. So when we facilitate our immunity with this autophagy, with this self-cleaning, we clean up all these dead cells, and guess what a stem cell does? A stem cell is activated when there's a space, when there's a place to fill in the tissue that has been removed, because that's what happens with an injury. An injury is when you traumatize the tissue and it's damaged, so then the stem cells go right to the damaged area and they repair it and regenerate. Well, when you have good autophagy, you're cleaning up all these dead cells and removing them, and now you have this empty space that attracts the stem cell, and the stem cells go in and regenerate and make new tissue. But none of that is happening unless you, again, stimulate and grow a strong immune system, and also stimulate and activate, stem cell release and stem cell activation. So here's how our formula works. And one of the things that people feel right away with the formula is the reduction of pain and inflammation. And that's because stem cells, when you get an injection with a stem cell therapy from conventional medicine, they tell you your stem cells aren't going to work for 60 to 90 days, because that's how long it takes for the tissue to regenerate. But people feel something almost immediately, let's say 70 to 80% of the time. And the reason for that is that stem cells reduce inflammation. So we have a multidimensional approach to this ability to reduce inflammation by strengthening the immune system with our ingredients, and also activating our stem cell response with our ingredients. And when Dr. and Tina, we've talked to so many stem cell doctors, and over the years, that they've been interested in our formula and how we could do something orally that really compares with what they're doing with very costly injections. And this is all part of the process that we've learned about stem cell therapy and how stem cells work, reducing inflammation almost immediately, and over 2 to 3 months, you see the cellular regeneration. And this is what you need to share with people about TeloYouth. Give it some time. If you want to see a joint repaired, or some kind of tissue regeneration and stuff, this is the schedule that we're working with, 2 to 3 months for that stem cell activity to take place. And you just keep taking it, and you see after 6 months, you look back, wow, all the things that have changed, and 9 months and 12 months later, so many more things that keep getting regenerated and repaired because of the stem cell technology that's in the formula. Dr. Tina, anything else to share? Because I know we've always enjoyed talking with other doctors and learning, how they approach stem cell therapy and what we're doing with our formula.
I do. And there are things that you can do when we're talking about lifestyle recommendations. You're taking something with TeloYouth like stem cell therapy in a bottle every single day, and it's not costing you tens of thousands of dollars. It's very cost effective. So when we're looking at even a stem cell injection, the body's going to look for all of this good nutrition to rebuild your cells, because that's what it's doing. Now you're rebuilding, and that's what TeloYouth helps your body do. It helps you rebuild that immune system and then all of your other systems. So your operating system is going to get much better. And all of these things like listed here, like sunshine and sleep and vitamin C. Vitamin C, somebody asked me, what is the C that you recommend? AMLA, AMLA, is a food source, 2 to 4 grams daily. Your vitamin D3, K2A, omegas, you get all of those, by the way, in cod liver oil, the D3, K2A, and omegas. So you can take cod liver oil, get your exercise, hydration, make sure you're drinking a lot of water. And then now is a good time to drink hot or warm water with lemon in it to help balance your system. Wear your mask, practice your social distancing for 6 feet, wash your hands often, and remember, there's 3 things that we want to get across to you today that really stresses our immune system or assaults our immune system. Number 1, those non-native EMFs, you have protection with TeloYouth. Number 2, the microbiome. You need to take care of your microbiome. You can take all the TeloYouth in the world, but if you don't make some of these lifestyle recommendations, it's going to be harder and it's going to take longer for the formula to work. And number 3, stress mediation. Practice stress mediation, and TeloYouth is clinically proven to help reduce stress. So those are the 3 things out of today's presentation we really truly want you to understand. And then thank you, Dr. Chris. Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap it up here? And if you have any questions, also put it in the chat area.
Yeah, good reminder there. Yes, I just wanted to finish with, again, how we usually open our presentations. And we're energy beings first, and the energy comes from our little energy cells in the body. They're called our mitochondria. And these mitochondria are what facilitate the grabbing the energy from the oxygen that comes into our bodies. And we always refer to the term that you want to redox before you detox. A lot of natural practitioners will talk to you about getting into detoxification programs. Well, no, we're talking about building up your mitochondrial system, your redox system, and I think we've got it on slide 16. We show pictures of as we age, we lose the ability to maintain our mitochondria because of all the different stressors that we've incorporated into our system that we've shared in that presentation today. But we don't have to. By taking TeloYouth and practicing these lifestyle routines that Dr. Tina's just shared, you build back your mitochondria, you build back your energy potential. And then when you have this energy, guess what? The energy is where your immune system starts working better, your heart starts working better, you think with a greater clarity. Why? Because those are the cells, the heart cells, the immune cells, the brain cells, the nervous system. Those are the cells that have the abundance of mitochondria. We're talking about thousands of mitochondria. And so this is how you're reversing aging. You're reversing aging by incorporating more mitochondria into your system, and the mitochondria facilitate the energy production, and the energy production is what keeps us strong and healthy from foreign invaders, from stress, from all the things that life requires from us. And I mentioned in the beginning that the mind is the most powerful pharmacist that we have, but also the sun. We have to look at the sun. On the next slide, you're going to see how important it is to just stay plugged into the solar cycles. And now that we're going into the spring and the summer, we have more access to the full spectrum of the sun, because the sun is the most broad spectrum nutrient. When the doctors, natural practitioners and dietitians tell you eat a rainbow diet, meaning you have a whole, rainbow of different types of foods, the reds and the blues and the greens and the yellows. Well, guess where that full spectrum of colors come from? It comes from the full spectrums of the sun. So you can get that by getting out in the morning and getting the infrareds that turn on the signaling to make your melatonin for good sleep at night, and for the dopamine that gives you the energy during the day. And then in the afternoon suns, you get the UVBs and UVAs that make your vitamin D and facilitate all the energy production that happens in the body. So get back to nature, I guess, is our underlying theme here. And TeloYouth is a way that supports all these specific functions that are natural to the body and enhance it and to make it feel younger and stronger again. So before I will get into just our disclaimer, where what we have to say is that this presentation is for educational purposes only. We're not here to tell you how to treat, cure, or ameliorate any type of disease, but we're trying to show you how the body works and how we've put together a formula that supports and facilitates those bodily functions that keep you younger and stronger, and how to handle stress that breaks you down. So if you have any type of issues and conditions, you want to make sure to stay plugged in with your medical community and your health practitioners that work with you directly. And we just appreciate you joining us and learning what we have to share.